how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a plant unboxing now. Basically, we're buying a bunch of plants to sell on the website down below. So if you guys don't know, I sell a lot of the fish that I breed in this fish room on my website down below, and we also sell some plants. So this is only a small order. In the future, we're going to be getting quite a lot more plants. And in here, we just have a bunch of crypts, anubias, java fern, a bunch of really, really easy to grow plants. Nothing too complicated, nothing too high tech. So it's going to be interesting to see what we have in here. So we've got an invoice here. And I guess, yeah, we'll just start having a look at what's in here. So we'll just start pulling stuff out. So something funny about all these plants is I wasn't around when they tried to deliver them. So they've been in the post office over the weekend, which I think is absolutely fine, but we'll see how they're going. So in here we've got some microsorium. So this is all java fern. So we've got some potted microsorium here. We've got 4 of these guys in here. This is just the common type, so very, very easy to grow plant. Most of the time what I like to use this for is I use this for breeding my simless cories. This also attaches really well to driftwood, and it's a great plant for aquascaping pieces of driftwood and rocks in your aquarium. Okay, so we've got some more java fern, but this is crested java fern. So it's basically the same story, a little bit different looking, a little bit more rare to find. For some reason, I'm not too sure why, but it looks more like a seagrass, this stuff. And yeah, I think the crested looks a little bit better than the standard, but I mean, it's up to everyone's taste. So we've got those ones. Okay, and then third bag, we've got some assorted swords. So these are just the standard Amazon sword, I'm pretty sure. These ones look pretty solid. You can see here we've just got common stuff, and then these ones here are what are these? Oh, these are red crypts. So these are the red ones. So they're not red yet, but they'll start to turn red soon, especially with a bit of iron in the water. Now these guys are a fantastic beginner plant. I highly recommend these for any kind of aquascape. In fact, I had a beautiful planted aquarium back in my old setup, a big 4-footer, and I used to breed a lot of angels in there, and I had a ton of crypts in there and they looked fantastic. So these are a really good one. Next bag, what are these? These are the brown crypts. These guys are just little baby Wendis. They're another great beginner plant. All of these plants are, in fact, like I was saying before, very good beginner plants. So next bag, don't know if I ordered this one. I think this is just another type of crypt. This is Tropica. I can't remember, I have to look at the invoice, but I think this is just another mid-ground plant. And I think it's a crypt, so. And then we've got some very good beginner plants. We've got some large bacopa here, so I think this will actually turn into smaller bacopa. These are huge, so these would probably be better for like a big tank. They look pretty good. And then Anubias nanas. So I've been selling a ton of these. I wanted to order them to see what they were like, but I propagate a ton of Anubias myself. I sell a lot of the Nana Petite, but the Nana is really, really cool as well. So it's similar size to the Nana Petite, but just grows a little bit bigger. And then final bag, we've just got a bunch of really common plants. So in here we've got a bunch of, it looks like wisteria and vallisneria. So another 2 great beginner plants. Vallisneria sends out tons of runners and is really, really good for aquascaping. It's like a really good background plant. And then I like to use wisteria for lots of my guppy breeding, and I used to use it in a lot of cherry shrimp tanks, and it's a very fast growing plant, and it's really, really good for soaking up nitrates because you can float it, or you can sink it, or do whatever you want with it, and it normally really does help to balance out an aquarium. So let's take all these plants and put them into their new tank. Alrighty, so we've just partially wrapped this up, but you can see here we've got all the plants lined up. Now we're probably going to just have to spread these out a little bit, but I just wanted you guys to see how green they're looking now. Hopefully they stay this green and hopefully they get greener, but you can see right there in the back, so we've got some of our red crypts up the back. We've got some of the Amazon swords right there in the middle of the screen as well, so the middle layered ones. We've got some really, really solid looking java ferns and some crested java fern. And then we've also got some more crypts over here. These are just the normal Wendis. We've also got the brown Wendis. So these guys look solid as well. But you can see our issue is up the top of the aquarium, and a lot of these plants are floating, the ones that don't have terracotta pots. So what we're going to need to do is get some soldering iron and just wrap that around so they sink. We'll leave these plants here. These are just wisteria and vallisneria. You guys are probably wondering, like, why am I getting all these plants and starting to do this? So my plan is basically to start selling a lot of these plants on the website, because I've been really wanting to do that for a long time, and I've been doing it kind of, but not really as well as I could have been. And a lot of you guys have been like complaining about, which is fine, you guys can complain, have been complaining about my website being out of stock for a long time. So I'm trying to fix that issue. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up CO2 units on both of these aquariums here. These aquariums are just nurseries for baby fish. So like if you have a look up the top, you can see in here we've got a bunch of these baby fish. So we've got angelfish and things like that. And this is just the fry system that I use to rear up a lot of the really small fish that are grown in the fish room until they get put onto an actual grow out tank. And we have a lot of this real estate down the bottom. So I'm using this real estate to grow out a lot of bottom dwelling fish. Like you can see down here, we've got these beautiful blue-eyed lemons, which we're going to grow out and hopefully breed in the future. And I was thinking that we could utilize these spaces down the bottom of both these tanks. We might get even more lighting to set up like a really small scale plant store. So I'm planning on getting quite a few more species and possibly some CO2 units. So I've got to do a lot more research, and if you guys have any ideas, drop it down below. Yeah, but basically the plan is probably get some CO2 units and bring some plants in and do big plant orders and sell them on the website, and just use these 2 tanks as the starting grounds for hopefully my little plant selling business on the site, to hopefully stock the website with plants, because it's been a little bit of a challenge just having such a limited space in the fish room, and cramming these things in is a little bit tricky, but hopefully this works. And I mean, like, don't feel like you have to buy anything at all. You guys just liking the videos and watching them is more than enough. But if you are interested, these plants are all available on the website down below, and every time someone orders something from me, it's like massively appreciated. It helps me so much, and it made everything that's happened in this fish room come true and become something, and I just really thank you guys a lot for it. So we're gonna get some of that soldering iron and we'll sink these plants. Okay, well that's all done now, and you can see all the plants are in here. So they look absolutely phenomenal. You can see the brown crypt wendii at the front here. You can see some of that bacopa up the back there. These wisterias are absolutely massive, and they're all starting to send off new growth. And there's also some of that val up the back as well. So these guys look fantastic. You can see I've sunk them with the solder. So this is some marine grade solder, or like aquarium safe solder. It's lead free, so it's really, really good to use for this stuff. It's a little bit expensive, but you can reuse it every time you get new bunches. So we've got these guys in here. And then over here, you can see some of our other plants have settled in really well. So we've got the red crypts here. We've got some of that Java fern here. The Amazon swords have settled in well, and everything's looking fantastic. So you can see just how good they've made these tanks look. I mean, look how fantastic that looks. Just having green in an aquarium makes it so much better. So let's get to doing some more jobs. In previous vlogs, I've shown my whiteworm cultures, and a lot of you guys have been asking about them and how I make them and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna actually split a whiteworm culture that I've just harvested from. It's looking a little bit overpopulated, and it's time to split it into a new one. So we're gonna do that, and I'll show you guys what I feed the whiteworm cultures and everything like that. So let's quickly do that. So if we come into my storage room, you can see in this wine cooler, we keep my whiteworms. So we've only been culturing whiteworms for a couple of months, so we've only got 2 decent cultures going. So we've got this one going, and we've got another one going down there. So these are just like some soil in here and stuff like that. So these are the only whiteworm cultures. Now, you have to keep these guys really, really consistent at about 15 degrees Celsius. If they go too hot, they'll start to die, and if they go too cold, they're not going to breed. So the wine coolers are the best thing to use. Don't bother trying to use a fridge, it won't work. You need to use a wine cooler or something like that that'll regulate the temperature at about 15 degrees Celsius. And then you'll end up with a whiteworm culture like this. So this is the one that we're going to be splitting today. Now if you open it up, it's a little bit stinky, but you'll see in here we've got a ton of these worms. Now before, I should have recorded it, but when these guys are ready, they are all climbing up the sides of this container, and you're just scooping them off and feeding them to your fish. And these guys are just gut loaded with a ton of food that we feed them. So what we feed them, and this isn't my method, this is Dave Ramsey's method, so full credit to him, but what I'm feeding is just bread. This is just like wholemeal bread with yogurt, like kefir, so probiotic yogurt, and some yeast. And then we just put that down, the worms eat it and grow and populate, and then we end up with a culture like this. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take these guys out and split the culture, and we're gonna set it up in here with some new soil. So you just use normal potting mix. That seems to work really, really well. And then, yeah, we split it, and then we'll have 3 cultures. So let's get to doing that. Firstly, what we're gonna do is, you can see this bread start to get a little bit old because there's some mold growing on it. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna have to take this stuff out now. You can see the worms are all attached to it, and we're just gonna get rid of this stuff and dispose of it. You just throw it to your garden or something like that. It's really good fertilizer. You can see there's a little bit of gross stuff there. It's probably overfed that bit. And then we've got this one here. And the worms don't really eat the bread, they eat the yogurt and the yeast. And the bread acts as a ground for lots of little tiny organisms to start forming. So, and then what we're gonna start doing is we'll get rid of this for now, and we'll start doing a dirt transfer. So this is just wet potting soil that I have from when I was making other cultures. So I'm just recycling this stuff, but this is just fresh potting soil, and we're just gonna use some of this for our new container. So the reason I'm using this container is these containers have like holes drilled in the side, so the worms are actually going to escape from those, and I don't know why I did that. So that's pretty stupid, but you don't want it to be too wet. You just want the soil to be like, so if you squeezed it, a bit of water came out. So the soil might be a little bit too wet, but it'll have to do for now. And what we're going to do is actually, before we fill up this, we'll take these guys and we'll split this in half. So I'll take that tile out. We can put that tile in here. We'll put it up here actually. And we're essentially gonna take a nice big old scoop of this. You can see all the worms in there. And we're just gonna spread them out in here. So we'll probably take actually most of this culture and put it in this new one. And there's gonna be eggs and stuff in this soil, so that'll be good. We'll probably leave about this much in the original colony. Yeah, that'll do. So you can see we're gonna leave about that much. Then what we'll do is we'll get soil, just fresh soil, and top up this culture. You only want it to be about like less than an inch thick, in my opinion, because if it's too thick, you won't ever see your worms. Now this culture is pretty much ready to go. You can see how it looks now. What we can do is we can take our tile and put it here, and then we'll feed that one in a second, but we'll finish filling up this tub. So we've got the two cultures here. Now what I like to feed is I use some wholemeal bread. So I'll use like a couple of pieces, and then I just use some probiotic yogurt. So this is just like kefir. Just cover the bread with this. So you don't need to be neat with it like that. And then I just top off the bread with some yeast. And then what I like to do is then I flip them so they're face down, because otherwise it won't work. Like that. You really don't need to be neat with this, they don't really care. And then you're all good to go. And that's basically it. So then we'll leave these guys in our culture, and we replace this food every 3-ish days once the worms have finished eating that up. And then, yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so it's now the next day, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving a few cory fry around, because some of our panda cories and similar cories have started to hatch. We're also going to be moving some colonies around, because I was breeding cories in bins, and if you guys want to see that video, there's a link up here. We're going to be doing a future video of that and improving that method, but our colonies are still in those bins, and I kind of want to get them back into just a normal tank so I can keep producing them in the meantime while I try and figure out how to do it better. And we're also going to be taking some fish to the local fish store. We're going to be taking out some betters and some angels and stuff like that. So I was just fishing out all the cories inside of this net, and these guys are just some panda cories, and you can see down in this little container all of the little guys are in here. So we've got quite a few in here. I didn't know that there was this many, so I thought I'd just do it off camera, but I was going through and there's heaps of them in here, and there's plenty more in that net. So we're going to finish getting all these guys out and move them into a grow out tank. You can see just how cute these little guys are as little babies, and these guys are all eating baby brine shrimp now. So these guys will do phenomenally in a 2-foot grow out tank, but we'll keep collecting all of them out and we'll have a look. Okay, so we've just wrapped that up, and you can see all of our little cories in here. So I'm not too sure how many there are in this batch. I might give it a little count and then put it up on the screen, but you can see inside of this moss is where they all go under, and there is quite a lot of these guys. So I like to raise all my cories up together and then separate them when they're a little bit older, but these guys are just super cute and really interesting at this size. So in the last vlog we set up this tank and we introduced some cories into here. Now these guys are pretty similar in age to these guys, so they shouldn't outcompete them for food, and they should cohabitate pretty well. So we're going to introduce our guys into here, and once they get to a size about this size, this is where the growth rates start to really dramatically increase, and they start to have a really big difference in size. So you can see some really small ones there in the middle of the screen, and then if you come over here you can see there's quite bigger ones here. So these are just some stir-by cories. So once they get to this size, they can go into a grow-out tank, and you can actually just separate the really small ones and keep them in this small tank, and then you can take the big ones and put them into a 4-footer or something like that. But we'll introduce these guys in here. Also, a lot of you guys are probably wondering, how is the spawn from the last vlog going? So these are the stir-by cories that we hatched in the previous 2 vlogs. And if you have a look in here, you can see these guys have started to take little baby brine shrimp, and they're all growing really, really well. So this has been a very successful batch. These guys are about a week old now, and starting to put on some real good size and are all developing great. So we're probably gonna have to set up another one of these containers because our stir-bite cories have been very productive. And if you have a look up here, you'll see that we've got 2 more containers with about 50 eggs in each one. And these guys down here are not going to be ready to go into a grow out tank before these guys hatch. We'll probably have to set up another one of these little tubs for these guys to hatch and go into because this one's not going to be ready in time. So that's a little bit annoying. Also, just before I started bagging any fish, I really quickly wanted to take a bit of time and just show you guys these black rams. So these guys are now available on my website down below, and the fish that are available are these blue blacks. So when breeding these guys, I started off with these blue blacks, and when you breed them, you get a whole bunch of different colors, and you get these blue blacks, you get gold rams, you get blue rams. So you can see there's like a blue ram there. And you also get midnights. You don't get a large percentage of midnights when you breed blue blacks, but you do get some midnights, and we aren't able to sell any of these midnights yet because we only have about 20 of them, and we need to keep them for breeding in the future. But we do have a lot of those blue blacks available. Now, when they are at this age, they look like the one you'll see in the middle of the screen. So if you do buy these guys, they'll look like the one in the middle of the screen, but as they start to get a little bit older, they start to look a little more dark. So this is one of the lighter ones that we have in the tank. You can see there, he's got the black head, very different from a blue ram, but as they get older, they start to look like the fish up the back. So they do look like a black ram when they have their full breeding colors, but they still don't have that midnight style of color. There's another one here inside of the pot, and this is what they'll start to look like. So if you do breed these guys, you will get some midnight rams. We just don't have enough midnight rams to start selling them, but we can sell those blue blacks. So they are available in the link below. But without any further ado, let's get to bagging some fish and taking them to the local fish store. Okay, so it's now the next day and we've delivered the fish and everything went really, really well. Today, what we're gonna be doing is, I know yesterday I said that we're gonna be moving some cories out of those bins. We're just gonna save that for another day. It's a bit of a task to tackle and I don't really have the time to do it today. But today, we're gonna be moving some more little cory fry around. If you look in the bottom of this container with the stir-bite eggs, you can see they've started to hatch, which is kind of annoying. And I know yesterday I was saying I'd set up a new container for them, but I just forgot to bring it today. If you come and look down the bottom of this container, you can see our little stir-bite cory fry have all started to do really, really well. They're eating lots of baby brine shrimp and they've really started to grow and do really well in this little tub. So these guys should be good to go into a grow out tank, and we're going to be moving them into their own grow out tank and moving those eggs that I was showing you before, or should I say wrigglers, into here. So that's what we're going to have to do with those guys. I also really quickly wanted to show you guys this food that I've been feeding my cories. This is just some of the beef heart I was making a couple of vlogs ago, and you can see these little guys, these are stir-bite cories as well, just go absolutely crazy for this stuff, and because of the protein content in it, they just grow phenomenally. So there's a bunch of snails on this, and the good thing about it too is if you have snails, you can just collect the snails out really, really easily. You just pull out that piece of food when it's covered in snails and you've got all the snails in the tank out. So you can see they really do enjoy this food. But yeah, we're just going to do the swap around and put these new cories into this tank. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching it. I really do appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like down below.